The baby was still stuck inside the mother's womb, still not coming out of the womb, still not getting detached from the mother, still attached deeply. And then the master a touch of the burning cigar on the mother's right thigh, and the baby comes out detached from the mother. Mind. How deep was the message of this whole incident that the master shared compassionately with me? Reminds me of Saint Kabir. In the whole history of India, there has been no saint as great as Saint Kabir. And Saint Kabir, or as we all fondly address him as Sant Kabir, was exactly like the great Himalayan yogi whom I admire. Saint Kabir will simply get you rid of the real problem and will not waste time in solving your problem. Kabir is not interested in solving the problem. Kabir is interested in destroying the problem others. The real problem is your attachment. The real problem is that you remain in the womb of your mother. You grow, you marry a beautiful woman, you become a husband, and yet you still remain in the womb of your mother, attached. The story shared by the Himalayan master was a message that until you remain attached with your mother, you will continue to suffer. You will remain stuck, and neither the mother nor you will experience the freedom because you are still in her womb attached, and she is also unable to let you come out of her womb attached. She also remains attached. And Buddha says that no matter whether it is your father or your mother, attachment is a sure ticket to death. The root of suffering is attachment, says the Buddha. And when the master comes, he gives a slight shock, a slight touch of the burning cigar, and both become detached. Both experience relief. Remember, always remember, awareness, enlightenment is not something that comes in your comfort zone. It comes only when you go through a certain phase. That burning cigar touch may appear as very insensitive for those shallow men and women who have absolutely no depth of understanding. But the wise is well aware that consciousness comes only to the fire of suffering. Remember, this thing is not to make you sad. Remember, that's where people go on missing. This thing is just to make you more alert. Because people become alert only when the arrow goes deep into their heart and stay. It is only when you go through a certain phase that you become detached. The baby comes out of the mother's womb. It is no more attached. It is smiling, playing, laughing, because now it has become detached. How deep it is and how good it is. But not everybody could relate, and maybe that is the reason why everybody cannot experience the beyond, why everybody cannot become the certain men and women are too much attached to their mother, their home, their locality. Saturn itself is a planet that goes on green, just the way a baby is always clinging to his mother. And then this attachment towards mother creates a headache for the wife of the native. Because no matter how much she does for him, he always appreciates his mother. The wife always has to take the back seat because the native is too much attached to his mother. He just can't listen to anything against his mother. A woman who marries a man having Saturn too should be mentally prepared to face the consequences The same is applicable for a man who marries with Saturn's rule. In fact, he should consider accepting his wife along with her mother. It is like that one-on-one offer that you just can't refuse. Saturn hates to move. Once he gets into a certain place, he remains there for a very long time. And generally, Saturn is fourth house native rarely shifts his or her house. They like to settle down. Have you all seen the advertisement for the mobile brand OnePlus? It says never settle. This never settle mindset comes when the Rahu is in the fourth house. But when Saturn is in the fourth house, the man or the woman is much interested to settle. If Saturn is not in a dissolving nakshatra like Mula, or Saturn is not in a disinterested nakshatra like Magha, or Saturn is not in a fiery nakshatra like Ashwin, that the woman or the man settle down early in life. But if Saturn is found in Mula, Magha, or Ashwini nakshatra, then the person finds it difficult to settle down. Let us be very clear that his or her mindset is to settle, but their karmic quality is such that they are not able to settle down. Saturn in the fourth house is equivalent to Saturn in Cancer. In fact, in the Kalapurush Kundali, the fourth house is the house of Cancer women. And the Lal Siddhar simply follows the Kalapurush Kundali, meaning as per Lal Siddhar, the ascendant is always heavy. Always. Saturn in the fourth is just like Saturn moon conjunction. The undercurrent of the native psyche is kind of different. And because fourth house is related to emotions, here Saturn tends to replace the emotions. The person spends most of his or her life in repressing their feelings, which in turn keeps impacting their health. Because the repression is not good, it leads to many complexities. How you will remember. The reparation is to live a life that you are not meant to live. The reparation is to do things which you never wanted to do. The reparation is to be the fellow that you are not. The reparation is a way to destroy yourself. The reparation is suicide. Very slow, of course, but very certain. Slow poison. Expiration is life. The reparation is suicide. Saturn's fourth house is a woman who generally is found to be conservative as far as her sense of dressing is concerned. Generally, you will find them very conservative, not much revealing dresses. As Saturn, when it is in the very center of the birth chart, the typical modern way of dressing is something that the native is not comfortable with. Even when they wear a modern dress, they are much on the conservative side and not very open and revealing. It is difficult to find a girl or a woman who has a Saturn core and she has come out openly and expressed herself, her emotions, her feelings to a man whom she loves. In general, otherwise also, woman never proposes a man. That is okay. Not proposing is one thing, but the same woman at least gives some signals to the man whom she loves, so that the man gets the message, so that the man himself takes the hit and proposes her. And that is what happens around the world. The woman never is the first to propose. She takes one. She waits, and she waits. And she goes on waiting until one fine day the man himself comes and opens his heart out to her. Says those four